Hi, this is John. I'm here to demonstrate a bread recipe. It's very simple, very few ingredients, very quick to put together, and myself and my family have really enjoyed it, so I wanted to share it with you. The ingredients that you're going to need are only four. You need flour. We like white flour because we've had the best results, but you can use wheat flour, rye flour, if you prefer those. Basic salt. We use kosher salt because it doesn't have iodine or calcium chloride in it. You need a active dry yeast. We use the Red Star brand. You can find them in pretty much any grocery store. They look like this. They usually come in a 3-pack. And the last ingredient you need is water. The pieces of equipment you need are a bowl. I'd recommend ceramic or glass to help with cleanup. And then you need a 1-cup measure and a 1/4 teaspoon measure. So we're going to go ahead and mix all of our dry ingredients in the bowl. The first is 3 cups of flour. So 1, 2, 3, and you're done. My personal preference for sealing the bags to reuse later is a small binder clip. Works pretty well for us. We also use that for the yeast package. So you have your flour in. You're going to add salt. The recipe calls for 1 1/4. A lot of times I just use 1, so with the 1/4 teaspoon that'd be 4 1/4 teaspoons. And then the last is the dry yeast. You need 1/4 teaspoon of the dry yeast. The dry yeast package, you'll be able to use it for many different loaves. So make sure that you seal it. We use the binder clip on it, and then we also put it in an airtight container and put it in the fridge just to preserve the freshness. So now we have all our dry ingredients here. Go ahead and take the teaspoon. You're not going to need it again. Stir them up to evenly distribute the yeast and the salt. And then once they're mixed, just after a few seconds, you're going to add 1 1/2 cups of water. So you can use a liquid measuring cup if you want. I just use your basic dry measure, 1 1/2. And the last thing you're going to do is just mix that together with your hand. So this will take maybe a minute or so. You just want to make sure that you get the liquid evenly distributed. When you're done, it should be a sticky consistency. You shouldn't have any dry spots, and it shouldn't be wet either. If it is too dry, you can add a little bit of more liquid. The one caution is that you don't want to have too much water because it'll cause problems when you're baking it. So we're going to go ahead and mix this up. And at this point, you can also add additional ingredients if you want, flavors, that sort of thing. Some items that we've had a lot of success with that we really enjoy are nuts. Pecans and walnuts are really good. And you can add whatever amount you think tastes best. I think experimenting is the best route to go. I'd say that we usually use about 1 cup of nuts. You can also use chocolate chips, dark chocolate. If you want to use herbs, we have fresh rosemary that smells excellent. Even when it's rising, it smells great. When you bake it, it smells awesome as well. Raisins, dried cranberries, cinnamon, nutmeg. Even if you want, you can add vanilla extract, almond extract, just kind of whatever suits your palate. And there's a lot of things out there, so I'm sure you'll find more ingredients that you can use than I can name. So now it looks about well mixed. So you can see we just have one big ball here. And after you've mixed it up, the only thing that is not fast about this recipe is that you have to let it sit. It's a no-knead recipe, so after you mix it, you're not going to have to toss it in the air, that sort of thing. But you do have to let it sit between 12 and 18 hours. So to do that, take a tea towel or any sort of fabric that you have, and we're going to cover it. So we have a tea towel here. You're just going to go ahead, put that on top, and then just set it on the counter. Don't refrigerate it. This is going to let the yeast work. So the bread's going to rise during that period, and once it's done, you'll be ready to cook it. So we have one that we did yesterday. It sat overnight, so it's been here for about 18 hours, and you can see that it sticks together now because it's allowed the yeast to bind it together. So I'm going to wash my hands off here. And while we've been doing this, I've been preheating the oven. It's 500 degrees is what the oven should be at. And you use a Dutch oven to cook it. You can use cast iron, you can use metal, stainless steel, you can use glass. We do use cast iron. It's a little bit heavier, costs a little bit more. Glass is pretty inexpensive and works pretty well also. I would say that cast iron and glass, I would prefer to stainless steel. So now that we have waited our 18 hours, I'm going to go ahead and you just want to mix it back up again before you put it in the oven. And this is just a plain loaf. I haven't put any additional ingredients into it just because I think for demonstration purposes it's best to do the simple route. If you had ingredients that have a high moisture content in them that you wanted to add to the bread, like a cheese, now would be the time to do that. Cheese, onions. I would recommend doing that now, just throwing them in here, mixing it in by hand, because of the high moisture content. They can mess with the yeast, and so it won't rise quite properly sometimes. Again, experimenting on your own is the best way to find out what will or won't work, but that's just a word to the wise. So I've mixed that up. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull the Dutch oven out of the oven. It's very hot, so make sure when you're bringing it out, you're careful. So we have the lid. So here's the Dutch oven. And the one issue you can have when you cook it that can be a pain on the cleanup side is it might stick. The dough might stick because the pan is hot. So I recommend just taking some of your basic flour, throw a couple spoonfuls in the bottom of your Dutch oven, and then make sure that it covers the bottom of the pan. That'll keep it from sticking, make it a lot easier, and give the bread a nice brown finish on the bottom. So we have our flour in here. We're just going to go ahead and take the dough. Going to drop it right in the middle. Then we're going to put it back into the oven, put the lid on top. And now we're going to let it cook. It's going to cook for 30 minutes. 30 minutes with the lid on. When it hits that time, we're going to take the lid off and let it cook somewhere between 5 and 15 minutes. We usually do about 8 minutes. That'll just give the top a nice brown color to it. And then once you hit that point, you're going to pull it out of the oven, take it out of the pan and put it on a cutting board. And then it's good to eat. So we're going to stop for now. We'll pick it back up when we're taking it out of the oven. Now we're ready to take the bread out of the oven. It's 38 minutes after we put it in, so we'll pull out the Dutch oven. We already took the top off after 30 minutes. And we're going to take out, we're going to take out the pan, and then we can take the bread out. And you can see it has a nice golden crust. Let it dry, or let it cool for a minute or two, and then you can put fresh butter on it, jam, honey, whatever you like. So hopefully you enjoy the recipe, and thanks for watching.